Sign the damn papers, Emily. I can't live like this anymore. I can't be shackled to you. He gestured wildly around the living room, at the life we had built, or rather, the life I had maintained while he lived another one entirely. I'm an executive. For Christ's sake, people look at me, they see my car, my suit, and then they see my wife. Do you have any idea what the wives of my partners look like? They run charities. They wear designer dresses. They don't smell like bleach and baby formula. His words were meant to be knives, and they were. Each one found its mark, sinking deep into places I thought were already numb. From behind my legs, two small bodies trembled. Lily, my daughter, all of 10 years old, but with the ancient, weary eyes of a war survivor, clutched my jeans. My son Leo buried his face into my hip, his small sobs muffled against the fabric. I wrapped my arms around them, pulling them into me, my own little fortress of flesh and bone. I looked up at Mark, my own eyes burning, hot and dry. Then go, I whispered, my voice raw. I'm not stopping you. I'll sign anything, but the children, they stay with me. He laughed. It was a horrible sound, sharp and humorless, like stones rattling in a can. The children, you. He leaned in, his breath sour with whiskey. You can't even take care of yourself. You don't have a job. You don't have a dime to your name that I didn't give you. What are you going to feed them? Your fucking pride. He straightened up, his voice booming again. I'm not letting my kids be raised by a pathetic, washed-up housewife. They'll end up just as useless as you. Don't you dare. The words tore from my throat, surprising even me with their ferocity. You have no right. You're never here. You don't know the first thing about them. You think this house runs itself? You think our children raise themselves? My mind flashed back through the years, the promises. Just stay home, Em. Focus on the kids. I've got this. We'll have a beautiful life. I remembered the nights I'd waited up, a hot meal on the table growing cold, the fevers I'd nursed alone, one child sick in each arm, the parent-teacher conferences he never made, the money he doled out each month, always just a little less than we needed, a way to keep me tethered, to remind me of my dependence, the clothes I hadn't bought for myself in years, the worn-out sneakers, the faded jeans. I'd sacrificed every piece of myself for this family, and now I was being told I was worthless. I know you're with her, I said, the name sticking in my throat like poison. Chloe, his assistant. I know everything. I don't want your money, Mark. I don't want this house. I just want my children. Please, just let me have my children. He looked at me as if I were a cockroach on his expensive Italian shoe. He was no longer a man. He was a beast, cornered and rabid. He grabbed a heavy crystal vase from the mantelpiece, a wedding gift from my own deceased mother, and hurled it against the wall. It exploded into 1,000 glittering shards. You'll get nothing, he roared. You'll sign, and you'll walk out of here with the clothes on your back. Or I swear to God, Emily, I'll make you wish you were dead. Lily let out a terrified shriek and scrambled from behind me, grabbing onto his leg. Her little voice was thick with tears. Daddy, please stop. Don't hurt Mommy. Mommy's sick today. She has a fever. We'll be good, I promise. Leo and I will help her with everything. Please. We want you both here. For a single, solitary second, I saw a flicker of something in his eyes, a ghost of the man he used to be, but it was gone as quickly as it came. He peeled our daughter's hands off his leg and shoved her away. Get off me. He took a step towards me, his foot raised, and I braced for the impact. I squeezed my eyes shut, holding my breath, but it never came. He just kicked the leg of the coffee table, a hollow thud that echoed the hollowness in my chest. The neighbors must have heard. They always heard, but they never did anything. Mark's family was practically royalty in this town. His father, a real estate mogul with half the city council in his pocket. His mother, Eleanor, a woman who looked at me as if I were something she'd scraped off her shoe from the day we met. We lived in a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, surrounded by people who were experts at looking the other way. They didn't know our story. They didn't know that I had graduated top of my class with a degree in economics, that I'd met Mark when our companies collaborated on a project, a whirlwind romance that felt like a fairy tale, a thunderclap of love, or so I thought. His parents had fought the marriage, of course, a girl with no family, no connections, an orphan. But Mark had been stubborn. He'd threatened to walk away from it all for me. In the end, they'd relented, buying us this house as a wedding gift, less out of generosity and more to maintain the family's pristine public image. The first few years were heaven. He was attentive, loving, my fierce protector against his mother's endless slights. We were a team. We cooked together, dreamed together, and then Lily was born, then Leo. And then, about 2 years ago, Chloe was hired. That's when the fairy tale ended. The late nights at the office became overnights. The business trips grew longer. The scent of a strange, cloyingly sweet perfume clung to his clothes. At first, he denied it. He called me crazy, paranoid. Then, when I found the proof, the credit card receipts for hotels just a few miles from our home, the text messages that were anything but professional, he didn't even bother to lie. He just changed the rules. He told me to accept it, that this was how it was going to be. I tried. God, how I tried. For the kids. I begged. I reasoned. I swallowed my pride until I nearly choked on it. I didn't want them to come from a broken home. I didn't want them to suffer. But now I was living in a miasma of his cruelty, and the suffering was a poison cloud, filling every room in our house. A sharp vibration cut through the tension. His phone. He pulled it from his pocket, and the expression on his face softened instantly. A transformation so complete it was grotesque. "Hey, baby," he cooed into the receiver, his voice dripping with a sweetness he hadn't used with me in years. "Yeah, I'm almost done. You go to sleep. I'll be there soon." He listened for a moment, his brow furrowing. No, don't cry. Don't you cry. Okay, I'm on my way. I'm leaving right now." He hung up and shoved the phone back into his pocket. His gaze fell on me again, cold and hard as granite. "You think about what I said," he snarled, pointing a finger at my face. "Sign the papers voluntarily, and I'll give you a few grand to get you started. A severance package. But if you fight me on this, if you drag this to court, you'll leave with nothing. You hear me? Nothing. This is all mine. This house, the cars, the money, all of it. People like you, you're just a parasite, a leech." I didn't even flinch anymore. I was used to the words. I just pulled my children closer, stroking their hair, my touch the only comfort I had left to give. "Shh, it's okay," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Mommy's here. It's okay. Don't cry." But Leo couldn't stop. He was hysterical, his little body shaking with sobs. Mommy. Scared, he stammered. That broke me. A tear finally escaped, tracing a hot path down my cheek. "I'm sorry," I choked out, the words aimed at my children, at the universe, at myself. "I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you." After he'd stormed out, the house fell into a deafening silence, broken only by the sound of our breathing. There was nothing left in the fridge. We'd run out of groceries yesterday, and I hadn't dared to ask for money. So I boiled water and made us a pot of instant ramen. Lily and Leo barely touched it, but they forced down a few bites, trying to be brave for me. I watched them, my heart a leaden weight in my chest. The fear was a constant, suffocating presence, the fear of losing them. It had been a dull ache for months, but now, with his parents' ultimatum echoing in my mind, get custody of the children, Mark, no matter what it costs. It was a roaring inferno. I'd heard them talking. They had already hired 2 of the best, most ruthless family law attorneys in the state. What chance did I have? I was a ship with no engine, no sails, caught in a hurricane. I wanted to fight, but I didn't even know which way to turn. Mommy? Lily's small voice cut through my thoughts. Can we go out after this? It's Leo's birthday today. The words hit me like a physical blow. Leo's birthday. I had completely forgotten. My son was turning 4 today, and his entire world was collapsing. I looked at his sweet, tear-stained face, and a fresh wave of shame and sorrow washed over me. I wiped my eyes furiously, forcing a smile that felt like it was cracking my face in two. Of course, sweetie. Of course it is. I leaned over and kissed Leo's forehead. What do you say we go get a birthday cake? What kind of present does the birthday boy want? His little face lit up, a tiny sunbeam breaking through the clouds. A car. A red one. A red car it is, I said, my voice brighter than I felt. Okay, you two go get washed up. We're going on an adventure. He scrambled off his chair, suddenly full of energy. Hope is a powerful thing, isn't it? Especially for a child. He was the baby we had both wanted so badly, the child Mark used to press his ear against my belly to talk to. Now, he treated him like a piece of furniture he kept tripping over. I pulled out my wallet and counted the cash inside. $300. That was my monthly allowance for groceries, gas, everything. I took a deep breath, tucked it into my purse, and herded my children out the door. We went to a little bakery cafe in a strip mall, the kind with a small party area upstairs. I ordered a small chocolate cake and 3 milkshakes. As Leo blew out his 4 candles, his cheeks puffed out and his eyes squeezed shut in concentration, I felt a moment of pure, unadulterated peace. I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the 3 of us, forcing the brightest smile I could manage. I had to save this moment. I had to burn it into my memory, a light to carry me through the darkness I knew was coming. Meanwhile, in a penthouse suite at the city's most expensive hotel, Mark was tangled in the sheets with Chloe. They were like animals, voracious and insatiable, devouring each other to satisfy a hunger that had nothing to do with love and everything to do with conquest. Chloe had been his project for 2 years. At first, she'd played the part of the doe-eyed, innocent admirer. But for the last year, she'd shown her true colors. She was relentless. She bombarded my phone with photos of them together, clips of their nights out, their vacations. She controlled his schedule, his money, his mind. She was everything I wasn't, all sharp angles and flawless makeup, with a body that looked like it had been sculpted by a god and a wardrobe that screamed sex and money. And in bed, from what Mark had let slip in moments of drunken cruelty, she was a performer, a gymnast, anything but the passionless log he'd called me. He was addicted to her. He couldn't leave her, even as she bled him dry, even as she made more and more outrageous demands. She was lying on top of him now, her head nestled on his shoulder, her voice a syrupy purr. You said you'd divorce her, baby, but you still haven't. Don't you love me anymore? Of course I do, baby girl. Don't be silly. His voice was muffled. I want to. God, I want to. But she's being a bitch about it, digging her heels in, refusing to sign unless she gets the kids. Chloe's body went rigid. She sat up, the sheet pooling around her waist. The kids? Why would you want them? That's her problem, Not ours. We'll have our own babies. You just pay the child support and be done with it. Let her raise them. It's what she's good for, right? Mark sighed. A long, weary sound. It's my parents, Chloe. You know how they are. They insist. The children carry our name, blah blah blah. I don't know how to get around it. Well, you'd better figure it out, she said, her voice suddenly sharp. Because my parents are asking questions. They gave us that seed money for our business venture, remember? They expect a wedding. This year, Mark. I'm not getting any younger. He grumbled something non-committal, and she pouted, a calculated performance of hurt that she had perfected. It wasn't until he took out his wallet and handed her his platinum credit card, telling her to go buy herself something pretty, that her smile returned. She leaned in, whispering promises in his ear, painting a picture of their glorious future together, a future built on the ashes of my life. They were two broken people, feeding off each other's vanity and greed. They made love again, a frantic, desperate coupling. For him, she was an escape. For her, he was a stepping stone. Afterwards, as they were getting dressed, Chloe had an idea. It was Leo's birthday, wasn't it? She wanted to go see him. She wanted to bring him a gift. Mark, after a moment's hesitation, agreed. Anything to please her. Anything to keep the peace. We'll take them out, she said, clapping her hands together. All of us. I know this amazing new restaurant. They drove back to our house, pulling into the driveway just as I was helping the kids out of my beat-up sedan. The headlights of his Mercedes washed over us, pinning us like startled deer. My heart sank. I saw her in the passenger seat, a smug little smile playing on her lips. I tried to ignore them, to hurry the children inside, but Chloe was already out of the car, her voice high and sing-song. Hey kids, come on over. Your dad and I are going to take you out for a real birthday dinner. I got you a present, Leo. Lily immediately understood. She grabbed Leo's hand and pulled him behind her, her small body forming a protective shield. Why did you bring her here? She demanded, her voice shaking with a rage that was far too old for her years. We already celebrated with Mom. We're tired. We want to go inside. Mark's face tightened, but in front of Chloe, he was trying to play the part of the patient, model father. Lily, honey, that's not nice, he said, his voice strained. Daddy was busy with work. I'm sorry. Chloe went to a lot of trouble to plan this for you guys. Let's just go have some fun, okay? What is she to you? Lily shot back, her chin trembling. Why do you always take her side? Do you even care how Mom feels? Mom works 100 times harder than she ever will, but you never say anything nice to her. We don't want to see her face. The words had barely left her mouth before Mark's hand flew out. The crack of his palm against our daughter's cheek echoed in the silent street. Lily staggered back, falling to the pavement, one hand flying to her face. Leo started screaming, and in that moment, something inside me snapped. The years of humiliation, of quiet suffering, of biting my tongue, it all evaporated in a single, white-hot flash of pure, undiluted rage. I don't even remember thinking. My body just moved. I saw a heavy-duty metal tire iron that Mark had left by the garage door. My hand closed around the cold, rusted steel. I ran. I swung. I brought it down on the hood of his precious Mercedes, leaving a deep, satisfying gash in the polished black paint. I swung again, shattering a headlight. Chloe shrieked and scrambled back, all pretense of composure gone. Mark, stunned for a second, recovered quickly. He lunged at me, grabbing the tire iron and twisting it from my hand. He shoved me hard, sending me sprawling onto the driveway next to our daughter. And then Chloe was there, standing over me, her hands on her hips. Hit her, Mark, she screeched, her voice shrill. Teach the crazy bitch a lesson. And he did. He and Chloe, together, descended on me, kicking, slapping, their faces contorted with hate. It was only when a car slowed down, its headlights illuminating the scene, that they stopped. A few neighbors had come out onto their porches, drawn by the noise. Chloe immediately burst into tears, burying her face in Mark's chest, playing the victim. I slowly, painfully, pulled myself to my feet. My body ached, my lip was bleeding, but as I brushed the dirt and gravel from my clothes, I looked at them, and I smiled. A cold, hard smile. "Keep your trash close," I said, my voice shaking but clear, so it doesn't pollute the rest of the world. "You psycho," Chloe shrieked. "Come on," baby Mark said, pulling her toward the house. "She's insane. Don't waste your breath. I'll cook for you tonight." I watched them go, my heart a dead thing in my chest. I gathered my children and limped into the house that no longer felt like mine. Inside, Chloe made herself at home. She sat on my sofa, kicked off her heels, and propped her feet up on my coffee table. "Honey, is there anything to eat in the fridge?" she called out, her voice echoing through the house. I'm suddenly starving. Mark opened the refrigerator. It was empty. Of course it was. He mumbled an apology. "Then let's go to bed," she said, grabbing his hand and pulling him toward our bedroom. Our bedroom. A room he hadn't shared with me in over a year, ever since I'd moved into the guest room with the kids to give him his space. She walked in as if she owned the place. She looked around, at our wedding photos on the dresser, at the quilt my grandmother had made on the bed. A flicker of rage crossed her face. "You still sleep in the same bed you had with her," she demanded. "You haven't even changed the sheets? You miss her, don't you? You want her back?" "No, baby, of course not," Mark stammered, already pulling at the zipper of her dress. "I've just been busy. I swear, since I met you, she's nothing to me. A mistake. You're the only one I want." Their clothes came off. Their bodies met. In the room next door, I turned the television up as loud as it would go, trying to drown out the sounds. The laughter, the moans, the sounds of my life being systematically dismantled. My children clung to me, all three of us huddled together on a single bed, our tears mingling in the dark. Lily gently dabbed at the cut on my lip with a tissue. "Does it hurt, Mommy?" she whispered. "No, baby, it doesn't hurt." I pulled her close. "Listen to me. No matter what happens, don't ever provoke them again, okay? Don't let them hurt you. I can protect myself. I just want to live with you." "Mommy," she cried softly. "Just us and Leo. Can't we go somewhere else? I can work. I can help. I can watch Leo for you while you find a job." I just held her and rocked her, the sobs I'd been suppressing finally breaking free. I was useless, trapped. Everything I did, every move I made, felt wrong. Divorcing him meant losing my children. Staying meant subjecting them to this hell. There was no good choice. There was only pain. We finally cried ourselves to sleep. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up with a scream trapped in my throat, the remnants of a nightmare clinging to me, a dream where they were taking my children away, and I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I looked at their peaceful, sleeping faces, illuminated by the faint glow of the streetlight outside. "I'm so sorry," I whispered into the darkness. "Mommy has made you suffer so much." The next morning, I rose early, determined to create a semblance of normalcy. It was Leo's first day of preschool. I needed to make breakfast, pack their lunches, try to find a job, any job, to start saving. But when I went downstairs, she was already there. Chloe, standing in my kitchen, wearing one of Mark's button-down shirts and nothing else, her long legs bare. Mark was at the stove, humming. trying to make her pancakes. I tried to ignore them, to walk past, but Chloe's voice, sharp and cold, stopped me. "We talked it over last night," she said, not even looking at me. "We're done playing games. This divorce is happening. Now, we've already spoken to his parents. Here's the deal. You sign the papers today, no fuss, and we'll let you have Leo." My blood ran cold. "Lily," she continued, finally turning to face me, a triumphant smirk on her face, "will stay with us. If you refuse, if you try to fight this in court, you will lose, and you won't get either of them. We'll make sure of it. I'm giving you 1 day to think it over. Tomorrow, our lawyer will be in touch." My knees gave out. I collapsed right there on the kitchen floor. This couldn't be happening. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. I knew, with sickening certainty, that they could and would do it. Every instinct, every fiber of my being screamed at me to fight. But the mother in me, the terrified, cornered animal, did the only thing she could. I crawled across the cold tile floor and grabbed onto Mark's pant leg. My head bowed in utter humiliation. "Please," I begged, the words tearing at my throat. "Please, don't do this. Let me have them, both of them. I won't ask for a penny in child support. I'll disappear. You'll never have to see me again. Please, don't separate them. Don't separate them from me." Chloe looked down at me with utter contempt. "They're Mark's children too. We want to give them a better life, a stable home. I already love them as if they were my own. Honestly, I'm being generous by letting you have one. Don't push your luck." She turned to Mark, her voice turning pouty. "You know what, baby? I've lost my appetite. This whole scene is just depressing. Let's go out for breakfast." "Good idea," he said, not even glancing down at me. "Let's go. Don't worry about her. She's always like this, melodramatic." As they walked out the door, I saw Lily standing at the top of the stairs. She had seen everything. She ran down and threw her arms around me, her small body trembling. "It's okay, Mommy," she whispered, her voice impossibly steady. "I can take care of myself. You and Leo just take care of each other. I'll be fine, as long as Leo is with you. He gets sick so much. He needs you. I'm big now. I can live with anyone." Her voice dropped even lower. "I'll be okay, Mom, but you have to promise to visit. Promise you won't forget me." My heart didn't just break. It shattered. It atomized. It turned to dust inside my chest. How could this be my life? How could my own child be forced to make such a sacrifice? She reached into the tiny pocket of her jeans and pulled out a crumpled $20 bill lunch money I'd given her that she'd saved. She pressed it into my hand. "Here, Mommy, for you and Leo." I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I just hugged my daughter, this brave, beautiful, broken little girl, and tried to absorb the magnitude of her love. A love so pure it was almost painful to behold. The next 24 hours were a blur of forced smiles and quiet desperation. I called the school and told them Lily was sick. We went to the park. I cooked all her favorite foods. We pretended we were a normal family, having a normal day. We didn't speak of the morning. We didn't speak of tomorrow. We just existed, together, in those precious, borrowed hours. That evening, a sleek black car pulled up. It was Chloe. She stepped out, holding a sheaf of papers, a pre-drafted divorce agreement. "Have you made your decision?" she asked, her tone bored. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely stand, but I looked at Lily, at Leo, and I knew I had no choice. "I'll sign," I whispered. "But please, let me see my daughter. Whenever I can." "We'll see," she said dismissively. She snapped her fingers. "Mark, Bring me a pen. He emerged from the car, a wide, relieved smile on his face. He was free. I signed my name. With each letter, a piece of me died. The moment the ink was dry, Chloe snatched the papers away. Good. Now, you and the boy can pack your things and go. Tonight, I stammered. But we have nowhere to go. Can't we just stay one more night? With Lily? Are you deaf? She snapped. You have a bag, right? Clothes? That's all you need. The rest of this junk is getting thrown out tomorrow anyway. She looked at me, her eyes full of malice. Go, now. I looked to Mark for help, for a shred of decency, but his eyes were vacant. He was already gone. Lily ran to me, clinging to my waist, begging me to stay. Chloe's voice rose to a shriek. Lily, get to your room and do your homework. Now, your teacher called today, you know. She said you missed school. This is your last warning. Mark finally spoke. Just go, Emily. For God's sake, take Leo and find a cheap motel or something. It's better this way. He pulled a card from his wallet and thrust it at me. There's some money on here. The pin is Leo's birthday. I'll send $500 a month for child support. That's more than enough. Find a job. Don't expect any more from me. $500. Chloe screeched. Are you crazy? For one little kid? The company's tight right now. She has hands. Let her work. I wasn't listening. I was holding Lily, kissing her hair, her cheeks, her forehead, whispering promises I didn't know if I could keep. Chloe couldn't stand it. Are you leaving or not? She screamed. Or do I have to throw both your brats into a foster home? Is that what you want? This is why he hates you. You're so fucking needy. Lily, brave Lily, pushed me away gently. Go, Mom. It's okay. I have homework. Remember to call me. Be safe. Mark grabbed my arm and Leo's and literally dragged us out the front door. Lily tried to follow, but Chloe grabbed her, holding her back. Her cries echoed behind us as Mark slammed the heavy oak door shut, the sound of the deadbolt sliding into place like a gunshot. Mommy, don't forget me. Visit me on the weekend. Mommy. Her voice, cut off mid-sob, will haunt me for the rest of my days. I stood on the manicured lawn, Leo in my arms, with nothing but the clothes on our backs, and a single debit card I had lost. I had lost everything. For a long time, I just stood there on the perfectly manicured lawn, a ghost in my own former life. The door was a wall of dark, unyielding wood. The windows were black, empty eyes. Behind them, my daughter was a prisoner. My son Leo whimpered in my arms, his little body heavy with a sorrow he was too young to understand. He started to cough, a dry, rattling sound that shook his small frame, and finally, mercifully, broke the spell that held me frozen. The night air was cold, damp. It seeped through my thin sweater, chilling me to the bone. We had to move. We had to go somewhere. But where? My mind was a blank, a wasteland of shock and grief. Mommy. Cold, Leo whispered, burying his face in my neck. I know, baby. I know. I pulled out my phone, my fingers fumbling with the screen. A taxi. That was the first step. I called the first number that came up, my voice a hollow croak as I gave them the address. When the car pulled up, the driver, a kind-faced man in his 50s with graying temples, looked from my tear-streaked face to the crying child in my arms, to the grand, silent house behind me. He didn't ask questions. He just got out and opened the back door for me. Where to, ma'am? He asked gently, once we were on the road. The question hung in the air. Where to? I had no family to run to. My friends were our friends, Mark's friends, people who would report back to him in a heartbeat. I thought of a cheap motel near the highway. I'm not sure I admitted. my voice trembling. Somewhere affordable. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror, his eyes full of a sad understanding. Trouble at home, huh? He said, more a statement than a question. Listen, the motel's out by the highway. They're no place for a lady and her kid. I know a place. It's a boarding house, run by a good woman, Barbara. She keeps a few rooms for folks who are down on their luck. It's clean, it's safe, and it's cheap. Want me to take you there? I could only nod, a fresh wave of tears blurring the streetlights into long, weeping streaks of color. The house was in an older part of town, a neighborhood of small, tightly packed homes with worn-out welcome mats. It was a world away from the sprawling lawns and gated communities I was used to. The building was old, maybe a little run down, but the porch light was on, a warm, welcoming beacon in the dark. The woman who opened the door was built like a sturdy oak tree, with a face full of lines that told 1,000 stories and eyes that saw right through you. This was Barbara. "Frank, what'd you bring me this time of night?" she said, her voice gruff, before her eyes landed on me and Leo. Her expression softened instantly. "Oh, you poor thing. Come in, out of the cold." She led us into a small, cluttered but clean living room. After hearing a brief, whispered explanation from the taxi driver, she took over. She made me a cup of hot tea, while Leo, exhausted, fell asleep on the worn floral sofa. "So," she said, sitting across from me in a creaky armchair, "he threw you out." I nodded, staring into my mug. He kept my daughter." Barbara's face hardened. "I know the story. I've seen it 100 times. But yours is the one that reminds me of my own." She took a deep breath, and her voice dropped, heavy with an ancient pain. "I was married once, a long time ago. A real bastard. He was. Drank. Ran around with other women. When I finally got the courage to leave, he fought me for custody of our little girl, my Sarah. The court gave her to him. Said a child needed her father." She paused, her gaze distant. "He married the other woman, the stepmother. She was a monster. A year later, my Sarah was dead, 10 years old. The coroner said she fell down the stairs. But I know what that witch did to her." Her voice cracked. "They're evil, the ones who prey on the innocent, the ones who smile to your face and stick the knife in your back. They take our children to punish us, to prove they've won. They don't care about the kids. They're just pawns in their sick game." She looked at me, her eyes filled with a fierce, protective fire. "You stay here," she said, her voice firm again. "As long as you need. I've got a room upstairs. It's not much, but it's warm. In the morning, we'll figure things out. You and me. We'll get your daughter back." That night, in a small, clean room with a single bed and a bare light bulb, I held my sleeping son and cried. But for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel completely alone. Back in the silent, sprawling house, Lily sat at her desk, staring at a math problem. It wasn't from her textbook. It was from a workbook Chloe had bought, 2 grade levels above her own. "What's the answer?" Chloe's voice was sharp, cutting through the quiet. She stood behind Lily, her arms crossed, tapping an expensive-looking wooden ruler against her palm. I don't know," Lily whispered, her hands trembling. "We haven't learned this yet." "Don't know is not an answer," Chloe snapped. "It's simple algebra. Even a monkey could figure it out. Is that what you are? A stupid little monkey? Like your mother?" The ruler came down, not hard, but with a sharp, stinging crack across Lily's shoulders. Lily flinched, biting her lip to keep from crying out. "Try again." At that moment, Mark walked in, fresh from his shower. "What's going on, honey?" I'm trying to teach your daughter, Chloe said, her voice instantly sweet. Martyred. She's so far behind, Mark, and she refuses to even try. She just argues with everything I say. Lily, Mark said, his voice tired. Listen to Chloe. She was top of her class at university. She knows what she's talking about. She's only trying to help you. She's fluent in 4 languages. Lily, he went on, parroting some line Chloe had undoubtedly fed him. She's a success. You should be grateful she's taking the time to tutor you. As soon as Mark left the room to take a business call, Chloe's mask dropped. She grabbed Lily's arm, her nails digging into the soft flesh. Listen to me, you little brat, she hissed, her face close to Lily's. From now on, you do everything I say. You will do the dishes. You will do the laundry. You will clean this house. You will wake up at 5 a.m. to get it all done before school. And you will not speak to your mother, ever. Do you understand me? Lily was too terrified to speak. She just nodded. Chloe started searching the room, a predator on the hunt. She ripped the sheets off the bed, tore through the closet, her movements frantic and angry. When she pulled the pillow off the bed, a small, old-fashioned cell phone, a cheap burner phone I'd given Lily just in case clattered to the floor. Lily's heart stopped. It was her only connection, her only hope. She scrambled for it, but Chloe was faster. What's this? Chloe purred, holding the phone up. Trying to be sneaky. Trying to call your pathetic mother behind my back. Please, Lily begged, tears streaming down her face. Give it back. It's mine. Please. Chloe just laughed. She walked out of the room, down the stairs, and out onto the back patio. Lily followed, sobbing. With a final triumphant smirk, Chloe took a small hammer from the toolbox by the door and, with a series of sharp, brutal blows, smashed the phone into 100 pieces of plastic and glass. She swept the remains into the trash. Lily's lifeline was gone. Later that night, Mark came to say goodnight. Chloe was already in bed, pretending to be asleep. I'm going on a business trip tomorrow. Sweetie, he whispered, kissing Lily's forehead. Just for a few days. You be a good girl for Chloe, okay? Mind her and do your homework. I'll bring you back a present. Lily just stared at the wall, her body rigid, her heart a cold, heavy stone in her chest. The next morning, after Mark had left for the airport, Chloe's reign of terror began in earnest. The day was a blur of chores and insults. When Lily was too slow taking out the trash, Chloe shoved her, sending her tumbling down the back steps. The heavy plastic bin landed on her head. Are you trying to make me late? Chloe shrieked, standing over her. Get up. Another insult, another push, another chore, another slap. By midday, Lily was running a fever, her small body bruised and aching. She found some leftover food in the fridge, but it had spoiled. The hunger was a gnawing pain in her stomach. She was alone, utterly and completely alone. She worked until she was dizzy, scrubbing floors, washing clothes, her tears mixing with the dirty water in the bucket. By 9 o'clock that night, she couldn't stand any longer. She collapsed at the bottom of the grand staircase, her body finally giving out, and fell into a feverish, restless sleep. Meanwhile, in our small room at the boarding house, I was going out of my mind with worry. Leo had a fever and a deep, barking cough. I had spent the day taking him to a walk-in clinic, using the last of the cash I had for the visit and the medicine. All day, I had been calling Lily's phone, over and over again, straight to voicemail. Every time, a cold dread was creeping into my heart. Barbara found me pacing the small room, wringing my hands. He's sleeping now, she said, nodding toward Leo. The fever's down a little, but you, child, you look like you're about to fall apart. I can't reach her, I whispered, my voice hoarse. I keep calling, and it won't go through. Something's wrong. I can feel it. Then go, Barbara said, her voice firm. Go to her. You leave Leo here with me. I'll watch him. I raised 2 of my own. I know what to do. You go and check on your little girl. But I can't. Yes, you can, she insisted, pressing some money into my hand for a taxi. A mother knows. If your gut is telling you something is wrong, you listen to it. Now go. Leo, as if sensing the urgency, let Barbara pick him up without a fuss. He even waved a tiny, sleepy hand at me. Go see Lily, he murmured. I grabbed the carton of milk I'd bought for Lily and ran out the door, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The taxi ride felt like an eternity. When we finally pulled up to the house, it was dark. The gates were locked. I paid the driver and ran to the intercom, pressing the button again and again. Lily, Lily, it's Mom. Are you there? Silence. A woman walking her dog paused on the sidewalk. They've all gone on vacation, dear, she called out. Left this morning. Vacation? I repeated, stunned. I fumbled for my phone and tried calling Mark. Blocked. I sent him a furious message on a social media app. A moment later, a reply came through, cold and clinical. If you need anything regarding the children, contact Chloe. She handles everything now. Then, he blocked me there too. I stood there for what felt like hours, staring at the dark house, my heart twisting in my chest. Vacation. They had taken her on vacation without a word to me. The relief that she wasn't hurt was quickly replaced by a profound sense of loss and helplessness. Defeated, I took a taxi back to the boarding house, the carton of milk still clutched in my hand. That night, Lily didn't wake up. She lay at the bottom of the stairs, her body cold, lost in a fever dream where her mother was holding her, singing her to sleep. It wasn't until 4 a.m, when Chloe stumbled home, drunk and reeking of cigarettes and cheap perfume from a night out with her friends, that she found her. She kicked Lily's side. Get up. Get up. When Lily didn't move, a flicker of panic crossed Chloe's face. She dragged the girl's limp body into the living room, splashing water on her face, rubbing her hands and feet. It took nearly an hour of frantic effort before Lily's eyes finally fluttered open. Her voice was a faint, raspy whisper. I'm sorry. I was just so tired. Please don't hit me. Chloe's fear immediately turned back to anger. Get up, she snarled. Go make me some food, and then you're going to get dressed. Your grandparents are coming over today. You will be polite. You will be cheerful. And if you say one word about any of this, I will make you regret the day you were born. Lily tried to stand, but her legs buckled beneath her. She crawled to the kitchen. She found a packet of instant soup and managed to heat it on the stove. She ate it ravenously, the hot, salty liquid a balm to her empty stomach. As soon as she was done, Chloe threw a fancy dress at her. Put this on, and clean up this mess you made. Now, just as Lily finished wiping the last counter, the doorbell rang. It was Mark's parents, Eleanor and Richard. Chloe's entire demeanor changed in an instant. She was all smiles and sunshine, a perfect hostess. Oh, Mom, Dad, come in. Mark's away on business. I'm so sorry I couldn't come pick you up. I've just been helping Lily with her studies. She's becoming such a bright, lovely young lady. Lily quietly said hello to her grandparents, but they barely acknowledged her. They never had. To them, she was a constant reminder of me, the unworthy woman who had sullied their perfect family tree. Why is she so sullen? Eleanor sniffed, looking at Lily with disdain. Doesn't she have any manners? Oh, she's just shy, Chloe said smoothly, putting a protective arm around Lily's shoulders. Lily flinched at her touch. It's been a big adjustment for her, but we're getting there. I just want to give her all the love and support she's been missing. The three of them decided to go out for lunch at a fancy restaurant. Lily sat at the table, surrounded by beautiful food she couldn't eat, her stomach in knots. She just wanted her mom. She just wanted Leo. During the meal, Eleanor launched into a tirade about me, her voice dripping with venom. Chloe played her part perfectly, nodding sympathetically, never saying a bad word herself, but steering the conversation to highlight her own superior qualities. She spent the entire meal doting on Lily, cutting her food, encouraging her to eat, playing the role of the perfect mother so convincingly that even I might have believed it if I hadn't known the truth. "You're a godsend," Chloe Eleanor declared, patting her hand. "The best thing that ever happened to our Mark and to Lily." After lunch, Chloe took Lily shopping. Not for Lily, but for herself. For hours, Lily trailed behind her like a little servant, her arms loaded with heavy shopping bags, while Chloe tried on dress after dress, posing for selfies to send to Mark. When they finally got home, the first thing Chloe did was take out the wooden ruler. "Take off your clothes." "Why?" Lily whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "Because you embarrassed me today," Chloe said, her voice dangerously calm. "Because you made me look bad in front of your grandparents. And because I feel like it." She beat her, systematically, cruelly. With each strike, she released all the poison, all the insecurity and rage that festered inside her. Lily's cries echoed in the empty house, but there was no one to hear them. When she was done, she left Lily sobbing in a heap on the floor. That's when my call came through. Chloe looked at the ringing phone, a slow, cruel smile spreading across her face. She answered. My voice was a frantic rush. "Chloe, please, just let me talk to her. For 1 minute. I'm so worried." "She's busy," Chloe said, her voice like ice. "She's studying. And you know, it's funny. We had a long talk today. She told me she's happy here. She told me she doesn't want to see you anymore. She said she's ashamed to have a mother like you." "That's a lie," I choked out. "Is it?" Chloe laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "She's thriving, Emily, for the first time in her life. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a family to build. Don't call here again." She hung up and blocked my number. I stared at my phone, the silence on the other end, a physical blow. The world tilted on its axis, and I fell into a darkness so profound, I thought I might never find my way out. The silence on the other end of the line was a void that swallowed me whole. Chloe's words, each one a perfectly crafted barb of poison, echoed in my ears. "She doesn't want to see you anymore. She's ashamed to have a mother like you." I knew it was a lie. I knew it. But the seed of doubt, planted in the fertile ground of my fear and exhaustion, began to sprout. I collapsed onto my bed in the little room, my body shaking with silent, racking sobs. Barbara came in and sat beside me, rubbing my back, her presence a solid, comforting weight. "What did that she-devil say to you?" she asked, her voice low and rumbling with anger. Through my tears, I managed to repeat Chloe's lies. Barbara just shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin, hard line. "Don't you believe it for a second," she said fiercely. "That's what they do. They isolate, they manipulate. They turn your own heart against you. We have to be smart, Emily. We can't let her win. Panicking won't help Lily. We have to think." Just then, the door creaked open. A young man stood in the doorway, tall and broad-shouldered, with a kind, serious face and eyes that seemed to hold a quiet, steady strength. He was holding a suitcase. Barbara's face broke into a wide, genuine smile. "Adam, my boy, you're here. Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" She jumped up and hugged him fiercely. He returned the embrace, a small, weary smile touching his lips. I had a few days off, Mom. Thought I'd surprise you. His gaze fell on me, then on Leo, who was stirring on the bed. He looked at his mother, a question in his eyes. Adam, this is Emily, Barbara said, her hand on my shoulder. And her son, Leo, they're going through a hard time. Emily, this is my son, Adam. He was a judge. It turned out Adam was a respected judge in the family court system, known for his sharp mind and his unwavering commitment to justice, especially for children. Barbara sat him down and, in a torrent of furious, impassioned words, told him our entire story. Adam listened intently, his expression growing more and more grim. He didn't interrupt. He just absorbed every detail, his brow furrowed in concentration. When she was finished, a heavy silence filled the room. He looked over at me, his eyes full of a compassion that was so profound. It almost brought me to tears again. She's right. You know, he said, his voice calm and reassuring. You can't let them intimidate you. The law is on your side, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Do you have any proof of his affair? Of the abuse? I nodded numbly. Texts, photos. I saved everything. Good, he said, a determined glint in his eye. That's a start. The divorce papers you signed. You were under extreme duress, coerced. We can fight that. We can argue that the agreement is invalid. We will get your daughter back, Emily. I promise you. Hope. It was a feeling so foreign, I barely recognized it. It was a tiny, fragile spark in the vast darkness of my despair. For the first time, it felt like I wasn't fighting a hurricane with a bucket. It felt like I had an ally. But what about his family? I whispered. They're so powerful. They have the best lawyers. And we will have the truth, Adam said simply. And the truth, when presented correctly, is more powerful than any high-priced lawyer. We just need to be strategic. Right now, the most important thing is to see your daughter. They have no legal right to keep you from her. None. Get your coat. We're going over there, and this time they will let you in. I looked at him, stunned. Just like that, he confirmed. He turned to his mother. Mom, can you watch Leo for a few more hours? Of course, Barbara said, beaming. You two go get that baby girl. The taxi ride back to that house was completely different. This time, I wasn't alone. Adam sat beside me, calm and solid. He explained legal concepts to me in a way I could understand: custody laws, marital property, evidence of abuse. He was arming me, not with anger, but with knowledge, with power. I don't know how I can ever repay you, I stammered, overwhelmed by his kindness. He looked out the window, a shadow passing over his handsome features. You don't have to, he said quietly. My wife, she passed away a few years ago. Cancer. We never had the chance to have children. She always wanted a daughter. She was going to name her Lily. He turned to me, a sad, gentle smile on his face. Let's just say I'm doing this for her. My heart ached for him, for this good, decent man who had suffered his own unimaginable loss. We were two strangers, bound by a shared grief, a shared understanding of how fragile life could be. When we arrived at the house, I felt a surge of the old fear. But then I looked at Adam, at his confident, steady presence, and I took a deep breath. He was right. I couldn't be afraid anymore. I strode up to the gate and buzzed the intercom, my voice clear and strong. Chloe, it's Emily. I'm here to see my daughter. A few seconds later, her voice, dripping with contempt, crackled through the speaker. I told you not to call here again. Piss off, or I'm calling the police. Go ahead, Adam said, stepping up to the speaker. His voice was no longer gentle. It was cold, hard, and resonant with authority. In fact, That would make my job easier. My name is Adam Cole. I am an officer of the court. What you are doing is called custodial interference, and it is a felony. You have exactly 10 seconds to open this gate and allow my client to see her child, or the next people you'll be speaking to will be from Child Protective Services and the District Attorney's Office. Your choice. The speaker went silent. For a long, tense moment, nothing happened. Then, we heard a soft click. The gate slowly swung open. As we walked up the stone path, the front door opened, and Chloe stood there, her face a mask of fury. "What do you want?" she snarled. "I want to see Lily," I said, stepping past her into the foyer. And then I heard it. A faint, weak cry from upstairs. "Mommy, I didn't wait for permission. I ran. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart hammering in my chest. Adam was right behind me. I burst into her room. The sight that greeted me will be burned into my memory for eternity. My daughter, my beautiful, vibrant Lily, was lying on the floor. Her face was pale and bruised. Her lip was split, and her eyes were dull with pain and fever. Her little body was covered in welts and bruises, angry red lines crisscrossing her back and legs. There was a patch of dried blood matted in her hair. A strangled cry escaped my lips. I fell to my knees beside her, gathering her into my arms. She was so light, so fragile. "Oh, my baby," I sobbed, rocking her back and forth. "What did she do to you? What did she do?" Adam stood frozen in the doorway, his face ashen, his knuckles white as he clenched his fists. He had seen a lot in his courtroom, but the sight of my broken child had clearly shaken him to his core. Chloe appeared behind him, her arms crossed. "She fell," she said, her voice flat. "She's clumsy." The lie was so blatant, so audacious, that it sent a fresh surge of white-hot rage through me. I gently laid Lily back down and stood up. I walked towards Chloe, my vision tunneled, every rational thought gone, replaced by a primal, animalistic need to protect my young. I flew at her, my hands becoming claws. I grabbed her hair, pulling with all my strength, screaming words I didn't even know I knew. We tumbled to the ground, a tangle of limbs and fury. "Emily, stop." Adam's voice cut through the red haze. He pulled me off her. "She's not worth it. The hospital. We have to get Lily to the hospital. Now." He was right. My daughter was what mattered. I scrambled back to Lily's side as Adam scooped her up into his strong arms. She was unconscious. As we hurried down the stairs, Chloe, now with a scratch down her face and her perfect hair in disarray, shrieked after us. "You'll pay for this. Mark will destroy you." Adam didn't even look back. "Call him," he said, his voice dangerously low. "Tell him to meet you at the emergency room, and tell him to bring his lawyer. He's going to need one." In the emergency room, the world became a blur of bright lights, hushed, urgent voices, and the sterile smell of antiseptic. Doctors and nurses swarmed around Lily, whisking her away behind a set of swinging doors. I was left in a waiting room that felt like a cage, pacing back and forth, my hands stained with my daughter's blood. Adam stayed with me, a silent, steady pillar of strength. He made the necessary calls to the police, to Child Protective Services. He handled everything. Hours crawled by. Each minute was an eternity. Finally, a doctor, a kind-faced older man with weary eyes, came out to speak to us. "She has a concussion," he said, his voice grave. "Multiple contusions, a fractured rib, and severe dehydration and malnutrition. The burns on her feet are 2nd degree. We've stabilized her, but she's going to be here for a while." He looked from me to Adam. "I've already made a report to the police. This is one of the worst cases of child abuse I've seen in a long time." He handed Adam a thick file. Here are the x-rays, the photos we took, my official report. Use them. Put that monster away for a very long time." Just as the doctor finished speaking, Mark burst into the waiting room, his parents trailing behind him. He looked wild, his hair disheveled, his eyes wide with a mixture of anger and confusion. "What the hell is going on?" he roared, his eyes landing on me. "What did you do?" "Me?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "What did I do? Your fiancé, your loving, perfect Chloe, beat our daughter half to death. And you're asking what I did. She fell down the stairs," he yelled. "She was starved, Mark, and burned. She has a broken rib." I was screaming now, all the pain and rage of the past few days erupting out of me. "Where were you? Where were you while she was torturing our little girl?" Eleanor stepped forward, her face a mask of cold fury. "How dare you? You come into our lives, you ruin our son, and now you concoct these vicious lies. Chloe would never." "Shut up," a new voice said. It was Adam. He had been standing quietly in the corner, but now he stepped into the light. He looked at Mark, at his parents, with a look of such utter contempt that they all took an involuntary step back. "My name is Judge Adam Cole," he said, his voice resonating with an authority that silenced the entire room. "And I will be representing Miss Evans in this matter. What you are hearing are not lies, they are facts. Facts that will be borne out by medical evidence, police reports, and witness testimony. I suggest you stop shouting and start thinking about the legal jeopardy you are all in, because, I promise you, I will not rest until justice is served for that little girl in there." He looked directly at Mark. "You may have money and you may have influence, but in my world, in the world of the law, none of that matters. All that matters is what you did and what you failed to do." The family stood there, for the first time in their privileged lives, utterly speechless. They were used to buying their way out of trouble, to intimidating people into silence, but they had just come up against a wall they couldn't buy, couldn't bully, and couldn't break, and they knew it. In that moment, watching their arrogant faces crumble into fear, I felt that tiny spark of hope inside me ignite into a flame. It wasn't over, not by a long shot, but for the first time, I felt like I might actually win. The flame of hope was a fragile thing, flickering in the sterile, air-conditioned chill of the hospital waiting room. Seeing the stunned fear on the faces of Mark and his parents was a small, bitter victory. But the war was far from over. My daughter was in a hospital bed, broken and terrified, and that was the only reality that mattered. Mark's father, Richard, a man accustomed to command, was the first to recover. He puffed out his chest, his face turning a blotchy red. "Judge or no judge," he blustered, pointing a trembling finger at Adam. "You have no right to interfere in a private family matter. We will have our lawyers handle this." This stopped being a private family matter the moment your son's fiancé laid a hand on that child, Adam replied, his voice still unnervingly calm. "As for your lawyers, I look forward to meeting them in court. Now, I suggest you leave. Your presence here is clearly causing Miss Evans further distress, and frankly, you are not welcome." A nurse, drawn by the commotion, appeared and firmly escorted them out. The last thing I saw was Eleanor's face, contorted with a hatred so pure it was almost beautiful in its ugliness, whispering something to Mark. I knew then they wouldn't just fight, they would try to annihilate me. After they were gone, the adrenaline faded, leaving me shaky and exhausted. Adam guided me to a chair. "You need to rest," he said gently. "You can't help her if you collapse." "I can't rest," I whispered, my eyes fixed on the doors Lily had disappeared behind. "What if she wakes up and I'm not there?" Just then, a nurse came back. "She's asking for you," she said with a kind smile. "She's awake. We've moved her to a private room in the pediatric wing. Relief washed over me so intensely, my knees nearly buckled. Adam steadied me, and we followed the nurse through a maze of corridors to a quiet, dimly lit room. Lily was propped up in bed, looking impossibly small and frail against the crisp white sheets. An IV was taped to her tiny hand. When she saw me, her eyes, shadowed and haunted, filled with tears. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice hoarse. I rushed to her side, taking her other hand in mine, careful not to disturb the wires and tubes. "I'm here, my love. I'm right here. I'm never leaving you again, I promise." Adam hung back in the doorway, giving us our space. "I was so scared," she cried softly. "I thought you were gone forever." She broke my phone. "I know, baby. I know. But you don't have to be scared anymore. She's gone. She can't hurt you ever again." I smoothed the hair back from her forehead, my heart aching at the sight of the ugly gash near her temple, held together with surgical glue. Is Daddy mad at me?" she asked, her voice trembling. The question was a knife in my heart. After everything she had been through, she was worried about him, about the man who had abandoned her to a monster. "No, sweetie," I lied, my throat tight. "No one is mad at you. You are so brave. You're my little warrior." We stayed like that for a long time, just holding hands, her small fingers clutching mine, as if I were a lifeline. She drifted in and out of a restless sleep, muttering about homework and broken plates. Every whimper, every pained sigh, was a fresh wave of guilt and rage washing over me. How could I have let this happen? How could I have been so blind, so weak? Adam finally stepped into the room, carrying 2 cups of vending machine coffee. He handed one to me. "The police have taken a formal statement from the doctor," he said quietly. "They've issued a warrant for Chloe's arrest. They'll pick her up tonight." The news brought me no joy, only a grim, hollow satisfaction. "And Mark?" Adam's jaw tightened. "For now, they're treating him as a witness. Neglect is harder to prove than direct abuse. His family is already spinning the story that he was out of town, that he had no idea, that Chloe was a master manipulator. They'll try to paint her as the sole villain, but he knew I insisted. He saw how she was with Lily. He let it happen." "I know," Adam said, his eyes meeting mine over the rim of his cup. "And we will make sure the court knows it too. But it will be a fight, a long one." The next few days were a blur. Barbara brought Leo to the hospital, and the sight of her little brother, healthy and safe, brought the first real smile to Lily's face. He crawled onto her bed, so gentle and careful, and patted her hand. "Lily hurt," he said sadly. "Bad lady." Barbara was a rock. She brought us home-cooked meals, clean clothes, and an endless supply of fierce, unwavering support. She and Adam took turns sitting with us, allowing me to take short breaks to shower or just walk the halls and breathe. The story, as Adam predicted, hit the local news and then exploded on social media. Someone at the hospital had leaked the photos of Lily's injuries. The public outcry was immediate and overwhelming. Chloe became a villain overnight. Her carefully curated social media presence inundated with a tidal wave of hate. Mark's company stocks plummeted. The perfect facade of his family had been shattered, and the public was ravenous for every sordid detail. This public pressure was our greatest weapon. It made it impossible for the police or the DA's office to sweep the case under the rug, which I knew the Preston family would have tried to do. A week after Lily was admitted, Chloe was arrested. The image of her being led away in handcuffs, her face streaked with tears, was on every news channel. Mark, under intense pressure, released a public statement expressing his shock and profound sorrow and vowing to cooperate fully with the investigation. It was a masterpiece of corporate damage control, and it made me sick to my stomach. His lawyers filed a motion for immediate temporary custody of both children, citing my emotional instability and alleging that I was an unfit mother who was coaching the children to lie. It was a classic, brutal legal maneuver designed to intimidate me, but they hadn't counted on Adam. He countered with his own motion, armed with the hospital reports, the police investigation, and a detailed psychological evaluation of Lily that documented the severe trauma she had endured. He also, to my astonishment, had somehow unearthed a history of restraining orders filed against Chloe by a former boyfriend for violent behavior. The preliminary custody hearing was held in a small, private courtroom. I was terrified. It was me, Adam, and a young, eager lawyer from his firm against a team of 3 of the most expensive, silver-haired legal sharks in the state. Mark was there, looking pale and drawn. His parents sat behind him, radiating icy hostility. Mark's lead attorney argued that Mark was the stable parent, the provider, and that I had a history of melodramatic episodes. He painted a picture of me as a vindictive ex-wife using my children as pawns. Then it was Adam's turn. He didn't shout. He didn't grandstand. He simply, methodically, laid out the facts. He presented the medical records, the photographs. He read excerpts from the police report, his voice low and steady as he detailed the extent of Lily's injuries. A hush fell over the courtroom. The judge, a stern-faced woman with sharp, intelligent eyes, looked at the photographs for a long, silent moment. She then looked at Mark. "Mr. Preston," she said, her voice laced with ice, "your daughter was systematically tortured in your home. You claim you knew nothing about this. I was on a business trip," Mark stammered. "I had no idea Chloe was capable of. And the bruises that were present before you left on this trip," Adam interjected smoothly, "the ones documented by her school nurse 2 weeks ago, which you dismissed as playground scrapes." Mark paled. The judge's eyes narrowed. She looked at the mountain of evidence Adam had presented. Then she looked back at Mark's team. "Motion for temporary custody to the father is denied," she said, her voice ringing with finality. "In fact, I am issuing a temporary restraining order. Mr. Preston, you are to have no contact with either of your children, pending a full investigation. Temporary sole custody is granted to the mother, Miss Evans. This court is adjourned." It was a stunning, absolute victory. I burst into tears, this time of pure, unadulterated relief. Adam placed a steadying hand on my shoulder as we walked out of the courtroom, past the stunned, furious faces of the Preston family. The legal battle was just beginning, but we had won the first, most important round. That night, for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I slept. Not deeply, not without the lingering shadows of nightmares, but it was sleep. My children were safe. They were with me, and we had a champion in our corner. Lily was released from the hospital a few weeks later. She was still fragile, physically and emotionally, but she was healing. We moved into a small, 2-bedroom apartment that Barbara helped us find. It was nothing like the grand house we had left, but it was ours. It was a sanctuary, filled with donated furniture, the smell of Barbara's cooking, and, most importantly, peace. Adam was a constant presence in our lives. He helped me navigate the bewildering world of social services and legal paperwork. He played catch with Leo in the park. He patiently read stories to Lily, helping her with the homework she had missed. He never pushed, never pried. He was just there, a quiet, steadfast presence who made us feel safe. The kids adored him. They started calling him Uncle Adam. Watching him with them, seeing the easy, gentle way he had with them, I felt a strange, stirring in my heart, something I thought had died long ago. The criminal trial against Chloe was set for 6 months later. Mark's company was bleeding money, and he and his family were social pariahs. His father had even been forced to resign from several prestigious charity boards due to the scandal. They were wounded, but that made them even more dangerous. I knew they wouldn't give up their fight for the children. They couldn't stand the public humiliation of losing. One evening, Adam and I were sitting in my small living room after the kids were in bed, going over some legal documents. "They're offering a settlement," he said, looking up from a file. "A generous one. They'll drop their custody claim, give you the house, and a substantial monthly alimony and child support payment. In exchange, you have to release a statement saying the abuse was solely Chloe's doing, and that you believe Mark was an unwitting victim." I looked at him. A year ago, I would have jumped at the offer. The money, the security, it was everything I had thought I needed. But now, "No," I said, my voice clear and firm. Adam smiled, a slow, proud smile. "I thought you'd say that." "He's not a victim," I said, the words coming from a place of newfound strength. "He was a willing accomplice. He stood by and did nothing. He chose her over his own daughter. There's no amount of money in the world that can buy him a clean conscience. Or my silence. We're going to trial. We're going to fight." He reached across the table and covered my hand with his. His touch was warm and strong. "Good," he said softly, "because that's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." In that moment, looking into his kind, steady eyes, I realized that this wasn't just about getting justice for Lily anymore. It was about reclaiming myself. The woman who had been silenced, erased, and told she was worthless was gone. In her place was someone new, a fighter, a survivor, a mother who would burn the whole world down to protect her children. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. The trial was a surreal spectacle. The courtroom was packed every day, a standing room only theater of public opinion. News vans lined the street outside, their satellite dishes pointed at the sky like metallic sunflowers. We had become a story, a headline, a cautionary tale whispered over dinner tables across the state. I sat beside Adam each day, a silent statue in a simple black dress. He was my shield, my interpreter, my anchor in the swirling chaos. The Prestons' legal team was exactly as I'd imagined. Slick, expensive, and utterly soulless. They tried to paint me as a hysterical, vengeful woman, a neglectful mother who had driven poor, fragile Chloe to a moment of madness. But they had no answer for the evidence. Adam was a master in the courtroom. He was calm, precise, and relentless. He presented the facts not with theatrical flair, but with the cold, undeniable weight of truth. He put the doctor on the stand, who detailed Lily's injuries in detached, clinical terms that were somehow more horrifying than any emotional plea. He showed the jury the photographs, the angry bruises, the blistered skin, the haunted look in my daughter's eyes. A collective gasp went through the room. One juror, a mother herself, began to weep silently. When Chloe took the stand, she was the picture of tormented remorse. She cried. She claimed she had been under immense stress. She said she loved Lily like her own. She said she didn't remember most of it, that it was all a blur. During his cross-examination, Adam never raised his voice. He simply walked her back through her own lies, using her own text messages, her credit card statements from shopping sprees on days she claimed she was overwhelmed. He ended by holding up a single, glossy photograph. It was a picture of Lily's small, bare back, a horrifying tapestry of welts and fading bruises. "Miss Vance," he said, his voice quiet but carrying to every corner of the room. "Please look at this photograph. Please look at what you did. And then please, tell the jury again how much you love this child." She looked, and she broke. The mask of the victim shattered, and all that was left was the ugly, pathetic truth. She dissolved into a hysterical, incoherent mess, and her lawyers knew, in that moment, that they had lost. The verdict came after only 2 hours of deliberation. Guilty, on all counts. As the judge sentenced Chloe to 15 years in state prison, a wave of profound, bone-deep relief washed over me. It wasn't triumph, it wasn't joy, it was just the end of the storm, the quiet after the hurricane. I felt Adam's hand squeeze mine under the table, and I finally allowed myself to lean my head on his shoulder and cry. Not in sorrow, but in exhaustion and release. The fall of the House of Preston was swift and total. The trial had brought unwanted scrutiny to their business dealings. Federal investigators, smelling blood in the water, began to dig. They uncovered a massive scheme of tax evasion, wire fraud, and illegal campaign contributions tied to Richard's real estate empire. Both Mark and his father were indicted. Their assets were frozen. The grand house was seized. Mark, facing decades in prison, took a plea deal. He was sentenced to 10 years. His father got 6. Eleanor, her world of wealth and status utterly destroyed, suffered a complete mental breakdown and was quietly admitted to a long-term psychiatric facility. It was a shockingly complete annihilation, their empire of greed and cruelty crumbling to dust. Life, for us, began again, slowly, cautiously. We lived in our small, sunny apartment. I found a job as a financial analyst at a small, friendly firm, rediscovering a part of myself I thought was gone forever. Lily started seeing a wonderful therapist, and, little by little, the light began to return to her eyes. Leo, bless his innocent heart, was simply happy to have his mother and his sister together and safe. Adam remained our constant. He was no longer just our lawyer, he was our family. He was there for every school play, every scraped knee, every parent-teacher conference. He taught Leo how to throw a baseball and helped Lily build a ridiculously complex model of the solar system for her science fair project. He never overstepped, never presumed. He was just Adam, our Adam. One night, Lily, who had been quiet all through dinner, looked across the table at him. "Adam," she said, her voice small but clear, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetie. Anything. When you marry my mommy." "Can I call you Dad?" The silverware in my hand clattered onto my plate. Adam froze, his eyes wide. He looked at Lily, then at me, 100 emotions crossing his face. He cleared his throat, his eyes suspiciously bright. "Lily," he said softly, "I would be the luckiest man in the world if you would let me be your dad." After that, the unspoken thing between us was finally out in the open. But we were both scared. We had both been broken by life, and the thought of being vulnerable again was terrifying. We circled around it, our evenings filled with a comfortable, yet charged, silence. Barbara, never one for subtlety, decided to take matters into her own hands. Over the next few months, she began to seem frail. She complained of being tired. She lost weight. A persistent cough started. We were worried sick. We begged her to see a doctor, but she waved us off, saying it was just a cold. Then one night, I came home from work to find her collapsed on the floor, Leo and Lily crying beside her. We rushed her to the hospital. The news, when it came, was devastating. The doctor, a friend of Barbara's, sat us down with a grim expression. "It's cancer," he said. "Liver. It's in the final stages. There's nothing we can do." The world tilted on its axis again. Not Barbara, not our rock, our guardian angel. That night, she called Adam and me to her bedside. She looked so small in the hospital bed, but her eyes were still sharp, still fierce. "I'm not going to be here much longer," she whispered, her voice weak. And I have one last thing I need to see before I go. I need to see you two happy, truly happy." She took my hand, then Adam's, and placed them together. "Life is too damn short to be scared," she rasped. "You two love each other. I see it. The kids see it. Stop wasting time. My last wish is to see my son get married to the woman he loves, to know that my grandkids will have the father they deserve. Please, do this for me." We couldn't refuse. We wouldn't. Through our tears, we both nodded. "Yes," Barbara Adams said, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Mom, we will." We were married a week later, in the hospital's small, sunlit chapel. It wasn't a wedding of spectacle or show. It was a quiet, sacred ceremony. Just us, the children, a hospital chaplain, and Barbara, watching from a wheelchair, her face beaming with a weak but triumphant smile. As Adam slid the simple gold band onto my finger, he leaned in and whispered, "I love you, Emily. I think I have from the very beginning." "I love you too," I whispered back. And in that moment, my broken heart finally, completely, felt whole again. The strangest thing happened after the wedding. Barbara got better. Her color returned. Her appetite came back. The cough disappeared. 6 months later, she was back to bossing everyone around at the boarding house, healthier than ever. I was picking up some groceries for her one afternoon when I overheard her talking to a neighbor over the back fence. "Cancer? Good heavens, no," she boomed, letting out a hearty laugh. "My doctor friend owed me a favor. You think these two stubborn fools would have ever gotten their act together otherwise? Sometimes you just have to give fate a little nudge." I stood there, a bag of onions in my hand, and just started to laugh. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. That wonderful, terrible, meddling woman. She had tricked us. She had faked her own death to give us a life. 2 years later, I am in a hospital room again, but this room is not filled with fear or pain. It is filled with light, with warmth, with an overwhelming, heart-stopping joy. Adam is beside me, his hand clutching mine, his face a mess of tears and awe. In my arms, wrapped in a soft blue blanket, is our son, Daniel. Lily and Leo are crowded around the bed, their faces alight with wonder. "He's so little," Leo whispers, gently touching the baby's tiny hand. "He looks like you, Dad," Lily says, beaming at Adam. Adam can't speak. He just leans down and kisses me, a long, deep kiss, filled with all the love and gratitude in the universe. He then kisses Lily, then Leo, and finally, the sleeping baby in my arms. "My family," he murmurs, his voice thick. "My beautiful, perfect family." I look at them, at this incredible man who taught me how to trust again, at my brave daughter who survived the darkness and found her smile, at my sweet son who is the embodiment of pure joy, and at this new, tiny soul who is the symbol of our future. The journey here was a nightmare. It was a path paved with betrayal and pain, a trial by fire that burned away everything I thought I was. But from those ashes, something new and strong and beautiful has grown. This love, this peace, this family. I am finally home.